Today's agenda is about OneDrive Basics. How do I get to it? OneDrive on Windows and OneDrive on other devices. So some basics. OneDrive is a Microsoft service that gives you storage in the Microsoft cloud, and it is included as part of the Windows File Explorer system on Windows computers. So instead of having a disk drive in your computer, you have a disk drive essentially out on the internet available to you. That is what OneDrive does. But it does a number of other things as well, as cloud storage has become more sophisticated and more capable. All OneDrive plans require a Microsoft account. They have several ways you can get OneDrive. The first way is to get it for free. When you create a Microsoft account, you get 5 gigabytes of OneDrive storage free, but you also can get Word, Excel, and PowerPoint for the web as part of your free Microsoft account as well. Everything you create in those apps will be used on the web and will be stored automatically in OneDrive. You can download any documents or files or presentations you create to your computer, but they are stored in OneDrive automatically by default, as the way it goes standard. Okay, that's the free plan. There is a $1.99 a month plan that increases your storage to 100 gigabytes of OneDrive storage space. That's a lot of documents, a lot of space. You get the Word, Excel, PowerPoint for the web applications, but you get a lot more storage space. If you want larger amounts of storage, as you subscribe to Microsoft 365, you get a 1 terabyte amount of storage in OneDrive. You get the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and other apps, and you can download the apps so that you can use them locally on your device, or you can use them on the web. A family plan, I think, is the best deal because it gets 6 accounts, and every account gets their own 1 terabyte storage on OneDrive. So you're basically getting 6 terabytes of storage that's divided up into 1 terabyte for each member of the family. Otherwise, it's a $70 roughly a year personal plan. You might find those discounted when you buy a new PC. Periodically, they are included as offers. Let's talk a little bit about where we keep things in our world of technology. You have a device. Could be a computer, it could be a tablet, it could be a smartphone, and it has local data. This is the old way we used to use computers before the internet was there. Everything we had that was electronic, we kept as local data. We had a hard drive on our computer, or we had floppy drives that we held in our hands. And if we wanted to move something from one place to another, we had to copy it onto some portable storage and physically move it somewhere else, right? If you don't have an internet connection, the only information you can get to on your device is what is actually in the memory and the storage on your device. You just can't get to the internet. So if you're out hiking, national parks are nice ways to get away from online demands because they typically have very poor cell phone or internet connections, and you're just relying on what you've got on your phone. If you have a song and you want to play it and you have it in the memory of your device, you can play the song. But if you are streaming it from the internet, you couldn't play it. So that's local offline storage. Sometimes it's called local. Sometimes it's called offline, kind of depends on who the technology person is you're talking to. There's cloud storage, where things are kept in the cloud. That means it's only there, and for you to get to it, you've got to use an internet connection through either a web browser or an app that might be on your device. So you've got things that could be in the cloud. Okay, this is the only place it's located. It's stored there. If you think of things like your financial information when you log into your online banking, your statements, your transactions, all of those things are not kept on your computer. They're kept at the bank account data because they can be updated. If you think of using something like Facebook or social media, you get the information from the internet and your device displays it to you in your browser or through an app, but you don't actually store anything. So when you're streaming a movie or streaming music, it's coming over to you through the internet, but it's actually not downloaded or stored on your device. So there's things you keep in the cloud, and you can have things local. You can have different stuff you keep on your device and different stuff you keep in the cloud. They could be separate locations where you keep different things. Now, you could have a shortcut in your device that might let you get to your cloud data. So that shortcut might be a link, it might be a listing. So you might look at your file system on your device, File Explorer on Windows or Finder on Mac, or an app on your phone, and it might indicate that you've got a file, but it actually has to go to get the file and bring it down. A really good example of this is an example of Apple's Photos. If you use iCloud photo storage, the full copy, the high resolution file with the big file data is kept in the cloud, but they include a smaller file that you can see on your phone. So you can see a little bit, but if you ever go to edit the photo, it has to download the full file. Or you might see an email, but the email is actually in the cloud. It's like a link on a website. You know that if you click on that link, you'll get taken to the website, but the website isn't actually what's there on your computer in the first place. So there's shortcuts to files because cloud data is on the internet. It can behave just like websites behave for us too, is that you can have shortcuts to a file, just like you can have shortcuts and links to websites. Now, you can keep things in both locations in sync. These are copies that are kept on both places, and the cloud application or the cloud service like OneDrive, or it could be Google Drive and others, they will synchronize the data so it's identical on your device and in the cloud. So you could have synchronized data, or you could have data that's different as well. So you have the opportunity to have synced data on your device where you actually have a file locally. So if you lose your internet connection, you can still get to it. You could have a shortcut, but you get to it when you see it in the cloud as well. And of course, you could have local data anytime you want to. So I just wanted to go through explaining a little bit of what the cloud gives you the capability to do in storing things. But if you think of it as a separate location that you can get to when you have an internet connection, but you can also make copies of things and keep them in both places, OneDrive and other cloud storage solutions will do that for you. OneDrive is an app. You can install the app from the Apple Store. They have it for Macs, they have it for iPhones, they have it for iPads. You can install it and download it on Android devices. If you have an iPad or an Android or a Mac or other things, something other than a Windows device, you will have to download and install the OneDrive application. It comes standard with Windows, so you don't have to install it with Windows. It's built into Windows, and it can be used as an app, or it can be used when you launch File Explorer. It's also accessible through a website. You can get to it through any web browser. It's called OneDrive.live.com. Microsoft calls their services live.com, and you get to it through OneDrive. So you can get to anything you keep in OneDrive through a website. So even if you have a Chromebook, you could still go to the OneDrive.live.com website. If you're in a library, or if you're at a friend's house, or if you're in a situation where you just need to get to something and you don't have a device with you, as long as you can get to the internet, you can get to your OneDrive because it functions as a website as well. And the data that you have in OneDrive is exactly the same no matter how you get to it, because it's basically a disk drive that is on the internet kept for you by Microsoft. OneDrive actually has a couple of things it does for you. In addition to being a storage system, you can synchronize things. So it gives you the ability to synchronize files between your computer and OneDrive, which means that they are mirrored, they are identical copies of each other, so that when you make a change on your computer, and if you're using an internet connection, it will update the OneDrive cloud file at the same time. It will update them both and keep them in sync. So you have an exact copy of things on both devices or on 3 devices. You can synchronize it with your phone, your tablet, your computer, and with OneDrive. So synchronization means you are keeping everything identical on all the devices. There's also a share function. That's the icon for share. It might look slightly different on different computers and devices. OneDrive, because it is a cloud storage system that's used on the internet, does give you the ability to share a file from your OneDrive storage by sending someone a link to it. You are sharing a link on the internet to someone that they can then click on to go to your file that you have chosen to share. So you don't have to send files as attachments, but the sharing utility also gives you the ability to start doing what is called collaboration, if you want other people to be able to edit the file. Okay, let's go to a couple of the services. One of the things that Microsoft applications do is they have an AutoSave button that you can turn on in the menu bar of the application. If you open up an application like PowerPoint, Word, Excel, etc., and you turn on AutoSave, it will start automatically saving your file to your OneDrive account for you. So it's built into Microsoft 365 apps, and it's a great way to keep track of things. It's an autosave. It updates it every couple of seconds, so you really don't lose very much information. So that's one of the services that OneDrive does for you, is this autosave capability. The other is sharing, and these are the screens you get depending on what you're looking at and where you get to your file. You might get some slightly different views of sharing, but when you right-click a file or you select a file to share, you will typically get an option to choose that this is the name of the document, it's being shared, and you can choose to allow anyone to edit. And I could enter in a name or an email address right here, and then it'll give me the ability to send it right from this link. Or I can modify it so that I can change the editing settings. I can modify it so that it changes the ability so that people can't edit it, but it can be set so that anyone with the link can view it. So you have the option to give people the ability to edit, which gives people the ability to collaborate on a document. So you could have 2 people making changes, and the changes are tracked by the application, either Word or PowerPoint or Excel. The other way is to just get a link. If you get the link, you can copy it, and then you can paste that link into an email, and anyone with the link can view the document. So if you only send it to one person, they're the only person with the link. And OneDrive will actually give you some history of how many people have opened the link and viewed it, so that you have quite a few options for sharing. As long as it's in OneDrive, you can just use these tools, the sharing tool, to give people the ability to access that document. And this doesn't matter whether you're using a Mac or whether you're using Windows, whether you're using the web, whether you're using Android, whether you're using an iPhone, or whether you're using an iPad. All of these options are available on whatever device you're using, because it's part of OneDrive that's offering this. So if you start typing in someone's name, their email already may be in your Microsoft 365 contact list. And if they are, you don't have to go to this copy link function. Or if you know their email, you could just type in their email and send it to them. So it's basically 2 ways. It gives you the ability to compose the message and send it directly from here if you want to. This is a screenshot. The OneDrive app is an app you can install on your iPhone or iPad. You will see recent files. and it will show you offline files. Remember, we talked about offline files being ones that are stored on your device, but they are also stored in OneDrive. They're kept in both places, and so they're kept in sync. And on a phone, because you've got a really small screen, they use this 3-dot more symbol to give you the ability to access different menus. And as long as you've got the application, you can edit it. You can also see libraries, and you also have access to photos on your OneDrive. Microsoft's making a lot of improvements to photo storage. Same information, same accessible through anything. Android has an app. A little bit different appearance on Android. I use Samsung, and Samsung stores photos in OneDrive. So whenever I create an image or a photo, it automatically puts that information. So it's going to show the menu a little bit differently, but it still has home, files, shared, photos, and my account, the 3 dots, and it works very, very similarly. The functionality is identical, just the layout's a little bit different on things. And it tells you the most recent. So if you were collaborating on a document, you'd look at shared, and you would see all the most recent changes to that document made by anybody that was sharing it. Okay, so on Mac, I took a screenshot so it wouldn't be difficult for me to show you. There's a Finder application that is used in order to look at your files for those of you that have Macs. And if you download and install the OneDrive app on your Mac, anything you keep in OneDrive will be kept in the OneDrive icon. It has a little cloud icon here, and it shows you all of the folders. I like to organize things in folders, so it's easy for me to find. And so there is actually an iCloud drive, and there's my Macintosh hard drive, that's my local. And then there's my favorite areas here that includes my files that I've got on my system. So OneDrive just shows up in your left navigation bar on your Mac if you're using it. But they also have another little tool. You can actually get a menu icon and let it install a menu icon in your menu bar at the upper right. And so you can click on it and get to iCloud by clicking on this icon, and it'll show you if it's synchronizing and updating folders or files for you anytime it's showing synchronizing. OneDrive has a Windows app. If you go to the Windows search bar and you type in OneDrive, it'll open up this little menu that says OneDrive App. What it does, when you click on OneDrive on Windows, it opens up the OneDrive space in your File Explorer. But you can also get to your OneDrive through File Explorer. That's this icon that shows up in the taskbar. So if you don't see OneDrive, don't worry about it. When you click on File Explorer, you also can get to your OneDrive. You see all the folders are exactly the same as they were on my Mac. They're the same information. It's identical. So I can work with a document on my Mac. I can then open it up on a Windows computer. I can open up on my iPhone, my Android, my iPad. So the document is kept in the cloud, but I'm able to get to it in many different places. It doesn't matter whether you're using your desktop or your laptop. As long as you have OneDrive installed on your computer, you will be able to get to that file and use that file with either computer. It's part of Windows File Explorer, so you don't need to download and install a separate app for it like you would with an Android or an Apple device. Now, there's a little trick that I discovered. When you open up the OneDrive app and you click on it, it will open up File Explorer on Windows, but it'll take you to your OneDrive automatically. So you can see how this is highlighted here, is that it's showing my Bob personal OneDrive. When you go to File Explorer on your taskbar and you open up File Explorer, it opens up the home folder instead of the OneDrive. You get to OneDrive either way. You basically are opening up File Explorer, but what Microsoft is doing with File Explorer is they are changing it so that it shows you on the home screen of your File Explorer recommended things that you have worked with based on how recently you've worked with them, things that you can put in your favorites. And you'll notice this little file here has a green check mark on it, whereas this one just has a cloud. Those icons are very important to tell you about where that file is kept and where it's being used. So it tells you about things. So when you open up OneDrive and click the OneDrive app, if you do it that way, it'll take you to the personal OneDrive or whatever you call your OneDrive here. And then you've got all your other folders, your desktop, your downloads, your documents, anything else you're keeping up there. But I tend to keep more and more and more in OneDrive these days. But when you open up File Explorer, it's going to show you this home view. But your OneDrive is right down here if you want to see what's on your OneDrive. So think of this as another disk drive in your File Explorer system is how you should think of OneDrive. It's just another disk drive that you have access to. You can also get to it on a website. Everything's the same. The apps, well, these are all the folders I keep here. It tells you how much space you're using. You can also go to recent, and just navigation's a little bit different. You have the options to do these things, share. You can download something if you want to, because this is what's in OneDrive, okay? It's not on your computer or your device. It's on OneDrive. But it's a website, so you get to it through the web. You can get to it through your file system. You can get to it through an app. You're just using a different method of getting to it. Now, the file icons. These are what's really cool about things, okay? So on Windows, you may see different views of this file icon, but if a file is only in the cloud, it will just have a cloud symbol next to it, a status symbol. Just like on, Apple Macs, they'll show you the option. They have a little download. If you want to download it and get it down to your device, you can right-click on that and download it. On Windows, they will show a checkbox that indicates it's being synchronized between the cloud and your hard drive. So you can keep things in the cloud only, or you could keep things in your hard. Think of it like having a storage unit, that you keep. Maybe you drive to it and you keep stuff there. If you just have stuff in the storage unit, you got to go to the storage unit to get it, but you just drive. So instead of driving to the cloud, you take the internet to get to the cloud, but it's there when you get there, and you can, just bring it over as fast as the internet will let you do it. You will see a share icon with a little profile photo next to a file if you share it. I have downloads I do for classes and workbooks that I do with my community ed classes, and I share links with people so they can download the latest version of the class, and that shows that I am sharing that. On Macs, it just shows a profile with two people next to each other. So symbols tell you a lot about where the file is and where you can get to it. Now, it's always listed. You can see, even though this file is kept in the cloud, why you should use PDF files, it's kept in the cloud. I still have a link to it. It's just telling me I can get to it by clicking on this and open up Word, and it'll open up the file, but it's not saved on my device. It is saved in the cloud is all it's telling me, but I can still get to it. Right-clicking on a file, it's your magic solution to do a lot of things. If you want to always keep a file on your device, like your phone, you typically do 3 dots to select it. But on your File Explorer or Mac, if you wanted to keep a file on your device, you would right-click it and then select Always Keep on this device. And then you're telling OneDrive what to do. It's kind of like training a dog, or another pet. I want you to do it this way when you're using it with this file. But you can do a lot of other things. You can add it to your favorites. So if you're working with it on a regular basis, it pops up to your home view when you're looking at it that way. Or you can choose to share it, or you can open it with a different application. I don't know if this would work with LibreOffice or other Office, but I believe as long as you have an application there, if you choose open with, it might do that. But obviously, if you've got Word installed, it's doing this. And then you have a couple of other icons. You can delete it, share it, edit it, copy and paste it, or cut it if you want to. And you can examine properties that shows you details about it. Microsoft does give you Skype, so they give you the ability to share a file with their messaging app called Skype. You should be seeing my Windows 11 desktop. I'm going to go down to my taskbar, and I'm going to hover over. There's a OneDrive app. I had to put that in the taskbar. It does not come standard with the OneDrive app in the taskbar. It comes standard with the File Explorer icon in the taskbar. So you could install OneDrive in your taskbar, but if you use OneDrive, it's built into File Explorer. It opens up a slightly different view. So if I open up File Explorer here, it's going to open up a view, and it takes me to my home where it shows recommended and then favorites and recent, okay? Things that I've worked with. Okay, here's OneDrive here, so I can get to it, but it opens up home. If I decided to put the OneDrive app in my taskbar and I click on it, it's going to open up File Explorer anyway, but it opens up my OneDrive right away, as opposed to home. So it's just the left navigation that it takes you to that's a little bit different. And it shows you in File Explorer, I am in OneDrive and in my Bob personal OneDrive. So let's take a look at some things here. So it tells you as you hover over with a little tooltip what type of document it might be. So this is availability status. It's in tiny, tiny print. So I'm sorry I can't magnify this for you, but it says available when online. And that's what this cloud symbol is, available when online. Okay, I have the ability to right click on it, and then I can open it. I can open it with another application. I can share it. I can add it to my favorites where it'll show up in the home, but I can always click on always keep on this device. Now, I don't know if I can move this. I can't move this window out of the way to show you the change in status, but I'm going to click on it. And you can see the status went to synchronizing, and then it changed to a green check mark. Pretty cool. Now I'm going to try selecting 3 files and right-clicking and see if it does all 3 of them at once. So if you had a folder, you could synchronize everything in the folder. So if you kept things in a folder, you could just say, right-click on the folder, and it'll take care of everything in the folder. So these documents now are both in the cloud, and availability says always available on this device. Also, that's in the fine print. So it's always going to be synchronized between my OneDrive and my local drive. It's up to you which ones you want to choose. Now, if I right click on it again, it'll give me the ability to do what's called free up space. If I choose to free up space, it's going to pop up a little message here, and it says, okay, online files save you space. And it says your files are synced. Now, again, it shows up in the list, but it's just not here. This is a shortcut that will take me to the file.